Hello, hello, hello. This is the second part of the introduction podcast of boring information you need to know about Camara. So, if you sat through the entire one last time, get ready to sit through another one, because it's probably going to be a bit boring, but if you're here, I'm excited, so let's continue. I think we were talking about, growing up in Maine, in that experience. I guess one of the biggest things growing up in like a or you could say mixed family is hair, especially having like black hair. It's a thing. Like it's a huge thing of upkeep, is I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say like high maintenance. It's a lot of challenges, and it's a lot of work. And when you're a child, especially me as a child, I didn't really care. Like I literally did not care what my hair looked like. It would be oh my god. It would look so bad. Not that I love black hair, but I just didn't do anything to style it. And there's also this thing that you have to kind of, when if you're ever on like a school game, and the coach or whatever is like, be careful guys, cuz you're representing the school. That's kind of what it is, like being a black person is you didn't really sign up for, but anything you do is a representation of somehow your whole culture. Like, it makes no sense. Like, it should not be a thing, but it is a thing. Is so in when people already have this idea that black hair is unappalling, or you can't look upon it, or it's too, I'm not going to use the words they use, but when people say these things about your hair, it's literally, well, they say this anyways. And when you don't style your hair or put a lot of effort into your hair, it's like it's agreeing to a stereotype or a bad thing that's not really true about you. And it's saying, "Oh my god, this is true." I'm going to agree with what you're saying and say that black hair is blah 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 blah. It's annoying, but if your hair is not always looking the freshest, it just doesn't look the best for everyone, and it's not a good route to go, especially when you're when you're styling your hair, and the style itself is not really like, they're like, okay, braids can look good. We know you don't know how to braid. I don't know how to braid, but braids can look good, guys. Let's not talk and say braids are shitty. But my whole experience with hair growing up was a bit different. My mom had obviously 4 kids before me. She didn't have tunnel, but she had like something in her hands where she couldn't use them, and my hair just never got braided. We lived in such an area that when we did go to a salon, they just got so confused because they didn't know what to do with my hair. It was like literally like, oh, they weren't taught what to do with my hair for some reason. Like, they literally didn't. I remember one time I was supposed to have wavy hair, and and she straightened it and she curled it, and it looked, I'm just gonna say, horrendous. And it's in all my dance photos. And I realized this at the time, but there was nothing I could do, because my dance teacher is like, let's have all the girls have wavy hair. And somehow getting my hair that is like way curly to make it wavy was just not, it was not happening. I should have just, I don't know what I don't know what we were thinking. But that was like multiple occasions of like, they didn't know how to cornrow, they didn't know how to do anything with black hair, honestly. And it wasn't honest. That's not just my experience in Maine. When I moved to Oregon, I went out to shout out to Supercuts. But I went to Supercuts, and this lady literally took out a buzz cutter and started buzzing my hair. She brought out like 3 other people, like they were consulting. I'm like, oh my god, what do we do? I don't know what we do. And they were literally like so confused, like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. It was like, okay. After they buzz cutted my hair, they literally buzzed my hair off halfway through, and then they're like, we don't really know what we're doing, so we're gonna send you to our sister location in the mall. And I went to that one, and of course she was black, because no one else knows what to do with black hair. Like, no one, unless like you grow up around it. Somehow the age where I grew up, it was not taught. Like, no one knew what they were doing. Like, you guys especially have black people in Oregon. Like, that one's a little bit like sus. You obviously have black people here, and you're whatever. But people just never knew what to do with my hair. So when I was in Maine, if I got my hair braided, which is the main style I would do, like, I never did anything like I never did any type of like big braids. Like, it would just literally be like designing my hair, nothing like box braids or anything like that. It would literally just be putting braids in my hair. And we would I don't know how, but my mom would like find she would like collect a bunch of black people in Maine. And whenever she found someone, they would either be babysitting us or they would be able to be hired to do our hair. Like, literally the only people that knew how to do our hair. And really sad part about it is they would not let them work in the salon because they did not have a hairdresser license. They were literally like, we know you can do hair better than anyone we currently employ, but because you don't have a license, we're not going to let you work here. And I always thought that was ridiculous. I'm just like, but you guys can't do my hair. She's literally the only person that can do my hair. You guys cannot do my hair. Do you understand that? Like, it was just a bad process. I was lucky I was in an age where at the time it wasn't a big thing. Like, it wasn't a huge part of my identity because I wasn't super aware. And it wasn't a thing like I thought about. I'm I remember I always went blonde, and that was a thing where I look back and people I was just like, "Oh, that's a big jump you're going there." Just because people are just like don't expect people with any type of tint to their complexion to go that light. But like, I was so obsessed. I was obsessed with Sharpay. The character is kind of crazy, I know, but I was obsessed with. It was a lot of blondes. And looking back, it was the stuff that I was being shown. And I wish I was being shown a little bit more diverse stuff. So it wasn't just all like the same carbon copy of a person that not everyone could live up to, because that's insane. But whenever I dressed up for Halloween, I would put like a blonde wig or something, or because I was dressing up as them for Halloween when I was younger, I'm gonna say, so it's less embarrassing. But I definitely got some looks. My mom and my sisters would say jokes because they were aware and knew it would happen when people saw me with a blonde wig. You would think sometimes they give grace to a child, but not necessarily always. I think I was just lucky again that I was not aware of all the shit that happens. It's a blessing and a curse. So I was just like a big thing of how I got my hair done, and I was never exposed to like, oh, these are the things that you can do with your hair. These are all the different styles you can try out. I remember I would go to the actual hair salon, and literally she would be buzzing my hair that I asked for, but she would literally be cutting it off, and at every point she'd be like, do you want it more? And she's like, it's not gonna be feminine. Do you want it more? I'm like, I don't care. Let's buzz it all off. So stupid. Like, I should have had like braids in my hair at so many points. Like, my mom was just not informed, and it was okay. It's just, I would never inflect that. I don't think you should be, my opinion. I gotta stop saying this, but I don't think we should be putting like weaves in like a 6-year-old's head, or like have a wig on her. I don't think we should give her, because I feel like that's giving someone a complexion. You're giving complexion. That's giving someone a complex. That's giving someone issues with their body or themselves that they didn't have already. Because what if that child or the kid literally has no issues with their natural hair, and then you're like, let's cover that up and put a wig on it. I guess if they want to do it for fun and you don't want them to be like ridiculed and mocked. And looking back in childhood photos, I definitely regret how I looked in certain places because I'm like, I was definitely one of the kids where you're just like that. Mm, this this girl needs hair. Like this is something that's a necessity. My mom used to. I don't know. She loved telling the story. I should not tell it because she's gonna kill me. But when I was really little, she literally would let me walk around with no top on. That seems so inappropriate at the pool because I looked like she would say a little boy. I feel uncomfortable saying that for obvious reasons. But it was just a thing of like I was not whenever we had like a thing in dance, she would always volunteer be like, "Yeah, she's okay with it." Cuz I was okay with switching genders. There's so many for a role like shit not to like make light of that. But there's a lot of people that would be like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And understandably, I understand toxic masculinity and wouldn't that be toxic femininity? I don't know. But I understand that peer pressure, I'll say group it all together. I understand that. But I never really cared because I wasn't aware. I think if I was aware as I am now, and even now I'm still not aware of some things, I would not have had a enjoyable time. If you're like it's like wearing I don't know, a crazy costume and walking downtown or like wearing a onesie and going outside in public. There are certain people that like me who are like don't pay attention or can't pay attention to people's reactions to the things you're doing, so it leads you to be more comfortable doing a lot of more things. That used to be me and still is me in certain ways, but my anxiety kills it so much, like takes it away completely. Because all I'm thinking, the whole thing that makes me anxious is like, oh my God, what if that person looks at me like this? What if this person laughs? What if this person judges me? Like, it's the whole time. And then I get anxious because I'm thinking about the stuff that may happen, even though it's not going to, or even if it is, the anxiety is coming from like the fear of, what if this could literally be ruining my life? But obviously, it's something that I think everyone, well, I'm going to speak for myself. It's something that I want to work on. It's easier said than done, obviously, like peer pressure. But I don't know. I would love to make it a goal slash mission for 2025 is to constantly push myself out of my comfort zone. And I normally hate when people say that, but I mean that I want to start saying yes to things that I'll say no to because I'm in fear of how it may make me feel. And I know most of the time I'm right. That sounds horrible. Most of the time it does make me feel like that. But I feel like pushing myself and making myself do these things even if they're uncomfortable. Even if the whole time I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm sweating. This is horrible. I feel uncomfortable. I'm anxious." I can look back and be like, I did that. That's something that I completed. That's something that I pushed myself to do. And I can look back at whatever happened. Like, if it's a memory, if it's a product, if it's whatever you're doing, you can look back and think, oh my God, that was actually pretty cool that I did that. And I want to start doing that more. Even I know people have advised online that it may increase burnout, but I don't know. A lot of that is a lot of theories that are obviously they can be proven, but like I don't know. It's a hard thing. I get so wishy-washy because I'm like, do I want to talk about this? Because what if I'm talking about is not factual and then I'm spreading misinformation, and that's a huge fear of mine and I don't want to do that. So I'll try not to. I don't know how, but I don't want. I want to talk about this, but I'm saying the same thing over and over. I don't want to. I don't want to accidentally hurt someone, is what I'm trying to say, and I'm gonna try to avoid that. But I'm just gonna speak from my experience. Like, I'm not gonna say in my opinion every time because you guys know that all of this is gonna be in my opinion. All of this is just going to be thoughts that I have, or opinions that I have, or theories that I have. And you can listen to or not. It's okay. I would obviously appreciate you. But I understand. I get invested. Like there are some podcasts. I'm not going to name names, but there's this one gentleman that I used to watch on podcast, and it wasn't someone that I literally I'd never heard of them before, but I was literally just scrolling through podcasts because I was so bored. And I somehow listened and watched like a 3 hour podcast of these two people just talking. And it was like, it wasn't always like, some of it was like really funny. Like, obviously, some of it was funny. But a lot of it was like really interesting talking. That sounds crazy. But it was just like things of like, oh my God, wow. Yeah, I like talking about that because I didn't really think of that way. But at the same time, it's fun to listen to someone and laugh. Who does not like laughing? But let me get back to my childhood so we can finish this the frick off. But let me say one more time. One of the major things that I look back, because I hear other childhoods, and a lot of people I don't want to talk shit on my mom because she was a single mom, and we all know the power that single moms have and what they can get done and what's possible. But I, we were just a lot of situations, and I think a lot of kids were like this. I don't think it's a judgmental thing, where we were just to fend for ourselves because there were so many of us. It wasn't like, oh, she's like, what is the phrase? The baby in the bathwater. It's a fucked up joke, but it's literally, it's not like she was like leaving us alone to die. Like we were always 2 years apart, so there's usually like someone like, I don't know, can I do math? Like 8 to 10 years older, maybe not that big. You know what I mean? Like if there was a gap where you'd be like, okay, you can, in theory, you could have hired this person as a babysitter and paid them to provide the service. I'm laughing because if anyone has been raised basically by their siblings, it's it's frightening. Like, oh my God. I talked to my siblings and we're like, yeah, we should have paid more attention. We should have cared more. We felt, I was the youngest, so the responsibility was rarely on me. But anytime we had to do something, we felt like, oh, this isn't our responsibility. This isn't something that, like, we didn't have a kid. You know what I mean? We're just we're the sibling. We're not supposed to have any responsibilities. But I'm due to our lot of life, we were forced to do a lot of things early that, looking back, I feel I'm kind of thankful for. Like, I know so many people who don't know how to do basic life skills, and I know people get shamed for that, but I think a lot of our parents, like, what's the word, infantize us. They literally keep us as a baby. Like, you know, that your child's 18 and you're cooking all their meals, you're doing all their laundry, you're doing everything that they're fully capable of doing. And then you're sending them out into the world and expecting them. You're like confused on why they don't know how to do anything. I'm not judging parenting, but like that's the one thing I'm grateful for my mom, is because she act not we actually learned a lot of life lessons and life skills that actually serve us in life. Like, even though you look back and you're like, damn, I was going through my kitchen when I was like 8 years old trying to find a freaking food that I could cook for myself. You know, like, has anyone done that? When you're literally like, okay, let me look at the ingredients we have and see whatever meal we can just put together with whatever we have. And we lived in northern Maine, so a lot of the times we didn't even have a car, and it was about probably like, we walked. Yeah, that sounds so aggressive. We've had to walk a couple times, and it was not fun. We got bikes eventually, but it's about like, I think it was like a 2 hour. It's pretty far. I think it's like 7 miles. But basically, we didn't have a car, and we were broke as hell. So we would get groceries once a month, get a taxi, and that would be it. So whatever wasn't there for the rest of the month, we just had to like deal with what we had. And excuse me, it just it it led us to create a lot of skills that I'm grateful for. And I know people are like, well, but what about your childhood? You need a time where like you get to have experience your childhood. I think that's true. But I feel like there's a point of like there's a middle ground, right? I hate using that word. But you don't want to again, not a parent. But you don't want to put in a position where they're out in life and they literally don't know how to do anything for themselves through fault of not being taught. But at the same time, you don't want to be in a position that is true where they don't experience a childhood, where they don't experience actual being able to, sit around at your house, do nothing, and play with children. And I think the biggest thing with that is like you're not anxious. I think that's what honestly a lot of my anxiety came from. But you're not thinking about this. You're not thinking about the bills. You're not thinking about, oh my God, we might not be able to eat next week. We might not be able to make the electric bill. We might not be able to do X, Y, and Z. You're in a state of like bliss, which I think is necessary to a point. I do think that needs to exist. I don't think we need to start arming children with guns and fucking bulletproof vests so they're safe in the world. I think we should be there protecting them, obviously. But when there's a point when this person is fully capable, I have this crazy theory of never having a kid. No, not the theory of never having a kid. I just feel so bad because I'm talking about something I don't know about, even though I want to talk about it. So I just want to make it safe for everyone. But my crazy theory, so crazy. I wanted to, this is what I wished, let me rephrase it. This is what my mom was able to do for us, is when we were like, hitting like freshman year of high school. So what are you, like 14? Getting like a travel trailer. Again, this is like a thing of privilege if you have the space, if you have the ability, if you have the income, if you trust your children. But getting like a travel trailer in the back when they're 14 and having them fix it up the first year, like literally giving them a budget and be like, okay, you have to find these things. This is what you need to furnish your whole travel trailer. This is the budget you have, and I'm not going to be able to help you, but I'm going to still be here for you if anything you need. And that way it's I know it sounds crazy, but like in my head, it's the same as a room. They're literally in your backyard as much as they would be at the, like, depending on how big your house is, it could be the same distance walking to them. But I feel like it gives them a sense of independence while also making sure that they know how to survive when you're not there. Because I know so many people that end up in situations and I'm just like, damn, I really wish, not judging your parents, but I really wish that someone was able to teach you these things and you did not have to learn on your own in a way that was counterproductive to your life. So my crazy dream would be like having them fix it up the first year, and then the second year basically just have them live there, have them do their own laundry, have them cook their own meals, and you're obviously giving them their money, but having a budget of be like, okay, this is how much money you guys have for food this week. If you spend more than your money on food, we're gonna have to go to a food bank. Like, we're gonna have to go to grandma's house. If you don't have a grandma, then we're gonna have to go to the food bank. You know what I mean? It's literally not like, okay, mom, I bought these heels that I really wanted, and now I can't eat this week. I would not give the money. Like me, I would be like, oh, sorry, want me to try to find some services that you can get? Because I'm not going to enable this behavior. Obviously, they need to learn that if they don't budget for the things that they need in life, no one's going to rescue them. No one's going to come in and be like, here's $10,000 that you can have. That's just not a reality that's going to happen. And God forbid you weren't there to protect them, or someone wasn't there no one was there. What was this? I get so scared because I'm just like, what do these kids know? Like, what are these kids taught? Like, survival skills of like, oh my God, if I spend twice as much on cooking fast food tonight, I can't literally survive rent. Like, it's not literally like oh, I either eat a $5 burger every single day or I cook my meals at home. Like, those are the situations that these really young children, in my opinion, we were kids at that time. This is the situations they're in. And a lot of the young adults that I know don't have a good support system. They don't have a good family there. Even if they do have a family, the family there is not always necessarily supportive to the level that they need. And it upsets me because I'm just like I'm not a parent, but I'm just like I wish someone had taught these people things. Like, and then you can't teach them because it just creates this whole thing of, depending on who they are, of some people are not able or willing at the point in their life to intake advice from people, especially because it makes them feel inferior or makes them feel less than. And I feel like that ends up in a horrible cycle that no one wants to be in. And it sucks. It really does. Wish I could enact my crazy plan to make children fend for themselves for 3 years. But technically it would be like 15 to 18. 15, 16, 17. That's a lot of years. Wait, is it 14? I can't do math. Oh my god. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad and I don't want to judge. And I wish there was some sort of more programs. They're not going to go. Let's be realistic. A kid in high school or a kid that just turned 18 is not going to go to a life class. I think they need to bring back, what were they called? Oh my god. Home ec. They need to bring back home ec in high school. Because that's literally, my sister had it. My older sister. And by the time that I was in the same high school, they had taken the program away completely. And I think they're just like, we're not in 1950s anymore. We don't need to teach this. But I think it's a necessity. I think there's a song. Let me look it up. But there's a song called Don't Stay in School. I bet you can find it even without me telling you who sings it. But he talks about a lot of good thoughts of like the things that they teach in school. A lot of things that should be taught that they don't really. I know that they're just like, okay, this is the base that we're going to teach everyone. So if they want to go to this degree or go to this, what, you know what I mean? They're already, they've learned the first part. They've learned the half of what they need to learn for that or whatever. But somehow there are essential skills and essential things that we need to, like, he talks about how most of people in America don't know how voting works. I want to do a whole video on YouTube literally dedicated to like talking about how voting works, and it's so hard to do shit like this as an adult without talking down to someone, because it's not like they're just like, you're not a child, you're not stupid. I hate that word, but it doesn't make you're not a bad person for not knowing this. And I think people automatically think that. They're like, oh my god, they think I'm a child. They think I'm stupid. Whenever someone tries to inform them, even in the nicest way, it's a hard thing to try to do. But that one really does bother me. Because I'm just like, the main issue with that is the only election that is pushed out is the presidential election. That's like the only one when you think about how it's like brought on the internet, how it's basically like a press tour. They're doing it only for the presidential campaign. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we don't live in a dictatorship. I know a lot of the things when Obama was president. I know that he would try to get a lot of stuff passed, and a lot of people just kept saying no to him, and he was not able to get things done because it's not a dictatorship. Not that that's a good thing, but he was not able to get the things passed because people were not working with him. And all I think is, one, people need to know what they're voting on. I got told about the law. The law is literally written in a way that's supposed to purposely confuse us. They did that on purpose. They write it in such a confusing way where it sounds so smart and uses all these fancy words that no one actually uses. And they do that so no one understands the law. So no one they do that obviously. I'm in my head probably for like murderers. So the murderer's not like, if I do this, if I do this. They're literally, they don't know what the law is because they make it so confusing on purpose. And I think they should be more informative, more informative for when they're talking about the presidential campaign. I think that literally the White House, the Republicans, the Democrats, every party should literally have like an official YouTube channel, and they're literally just saying all the bullet points for all the people. Like, if you want to vote for this guy, this is what he believes in. This is the policies he wants to try to enact. This is his whole thing. And I feel like people honestly don't know. They don't know who they're voting on. I really do believe that. They literally don't know. And even then, they're stuck of like, oh, you're going to split the vote. You know what I mean? Of like, well, if I don't like either one of these candidates, I can't vote for this fourth person that's not out of the main two, right? Because then you split the vote. So then you're forced to vote for someone that you don't necessarily agree with because the other person is worse. And it's a whole system that I'm just like, like, this is all started by whoever is elected by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, right? So if you're not the chosen one, there's no chance of you winning. There's so many things. I'm just stop aimlessly talking about this, but it just bothers me. And then the fact that we don't have enough, again, press on all the other elections going on and all the people on that. I know it's a lot to keep up with, but if we don't elect all the people that we want in there, or at least have an equal in there, none of the things that we agree with or none of the policies that we want to get passed are going to happen. It's just not going to happen with one person in the office that is making all the decisions. We need a lot of people that agree on the same vision to make any of the dreams that people have a possibility. And I think that's the biggest thing is people, it's so time consuming to constantly read into all these elections and read 50 different people and read all what they're doing and what they're not doing and the scandals that they're trying to get under their their names. I really think, I don't know, something should be produced to inform Americans of things that are being done in a way that they're actually going to respond to. And I know people don't like whatever you're going to say about President Trump. The way of him I don't know, him doing an interview during the Super Bowl, no matter what he is saying, if we're just talking about like marketing, is probably like one of the most genius things you can do. And obviously, we don't want someone with horrible policies or things that we don't agree with speaking, but the idea of like, okay, well, most of America is not going to tune into an interview done. I don't want to blast these. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to tune into a reporter watching an interview always. You know what I mean? The people interested in the politics, the people that are obsessed with, but like the general population of America, especially the kids, they're not going to watch that. They're going to watch the football game. So like anything that you want to say is they're going to hear. Do they necessarily want to? Who knows? But I thought that was actually a pretty smart idea to do. Obviously, I'm gonna stop talking there. But I don't know. I think we just have to find a way to speak to Americans, because I feel like everyone's just like, but everyone in America thinks. I don't think everyone in America thinks this. I think people are unaware of what's happening. People are unaware on what they're voting for, and I feel like if we were able to educate America properly, a lot of these problems wouldn't be happening. If we were able to have classes in school that actually taught these things, this would not be an issue. Oh, and the song is called Boy in a Band, and it's called Don't Stay in School. And he talks about a lot of the issues that I was just talking about. And I honestly, on top of all the stuff that he talks about, I think home ec is another issue that is not even discussed. Because again, it depends. I'm talking about people coming from like a very underprivileged environment. I don't know how to say this. Someone growing up with not a lot of resources. A lot of times when single moms are doing the best they can, they're not able to teach them to the full extent. So when they're dropping their kids at a 8-hour class where they're supposed to teach them, they should teach them things that they should actually learn. I know this is like basic education, but they literally, I don't know if they did this for your school, but they split our classes up in 2 days. They did like day 1 and day 2 when I moved here in Oregon. And that was literally so they can make our classes longer. That was so I fucking hate my voice. That was so they can make the classes longer. And so if they're making the classes longer, why can't we create a class? Or you already have a class like history. Why can't you teach that in history? Why can't you have home ec again? Why can't you have a class on talking about, I know like people would hate this, but talking about how I don't know. We talk about so much history on things that different races have done and things that different communities have done. You would think we would talk about current events. We had this one class. We listened to NPR, and that's when I remember this when Ferguson was going on, and everyone obviously rightly was talking about it. That one still pisses me off so much. Just hearing stuff that guy did afterward like really gets to me. Like I can't. But I don't know. I think we just need, obviously money is an issue. Sorry. Obviously money is the issue. People think that education's not something that needs to be supported. Obviously it does. As you can see, we have like millions of incarcerated prisoners that somehow we're paying millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into. And somehow, obviously, if we stopped, they would all be around us. But somehow, paying into a child's education that affects all of us is something that is not done. It pisses me off. Like, it's said they are the future. Like, that's 100% truth. You want to complain about the world we're living in. We have the opportunity to change it for tomorrow. We have the opportunity to change this for the next generation, for our children's generation. And we're not going to, because it's change in a way that no one is comfortable with. But it needs to happen. When you think about how much change the sexualization of women has changed, whatever. Back in the day when literally you would have to lift your leg up just to be seen as anything sexual, right? And that was something that was like taboo. It was like, oh my God, no. Versus today, to how all of our thinking has changed into what, if you told a woman that she could not show a part of her body, 9 times out of 10, it's just going to make her more mad. And it's not because someone wants to flaunt their body around always, sometimes. It's the fact that when you're controlling a woman's body, when you look back at history, obviously anyone that's black gets upset by slavery. You don't have to have lived through slavery. Jesus Christ. I should not be laughing, but I can't speak. It's going to affect you. You watching history is going to affect your life, and how people treat you is going to affect your life. So looking back in our times and seeing, oh, the 1950s, when women had no rights, they could not get a job, everything they needed to get done, they had to get a husband that they hope did not assault them when they got home. Like, this is not a scenario that anyone wants. This is not a dream. This is a reality of America that we just can't forget or let happen again. And so going saying, like, the free the nipple movement. I don't want to walk around naked. Let me be real. But the fact of someone controlling my body, I think everyone can agree with this, upsets me. It makes you want to walk around naked because you're literally like, I'm not being controlled. I'm not less than. I'm equal to you, and you should not demean me in that way. I obviously know that there's other issues along with that one, but it's not the hill I'm going to die on. But it's something that controlling someone's rights. I don't know. I'm pausing like that. I'm not meaning to. I literally can't think. It should rub everyone the wrong way. Like, it should be a thing that's like, well, I don't really think so. Like, I'm obviously not necessarily gonna be walking around naked. I'm not really comfortable with my boobs like that anyway. Honestly, I've always wanted to get a breast reduction. Just because, honestly, fashion. I know people are like, it's so sexualized, but so much like fashion, like clothing styles, you can't wear because when you look on it, it doesn't look good. Or it looks too sexual when you're not trying to be sexual. You're like, I just want to wear a cute top and my boobs are popping out because all my freaking weight goes to my boobs for some crazy reason. Like, it's not a thing I'm super fun of. Like, I like my butt. There's been a period when I've lost weight and it's gone away. And I never thought that would upset me. Like, I grew up kind of plus sized in my teen years, and I would always like want a smaller body. Like, I was happy with myself, but like I would want to be, the ideal image that's broadcast all over media. Excuse me. Which isn't necessarily something healthy to live upon or to compare yourself to, but I think when I finally got to the point of just like, okay, well, there are some things about this that I'm not happy with, and there's some things that I know that people are not happy about me, and it makes me not happy with myself. And so I feel like, I don't know. There's body positivity that can help, but I feel like a lot of it is lying to yourself. In my opinion, what happens is you have a low self worth. And then so you try to overcompensate. You're like, well, I don't really feel good about myself. Someone's making me not feel good about myself. And so I'm going to overcompensate that. And I'm going to say, I'm the best. I'm hot. I'm better than you. I'm amazing. I get a little narcissistic on your ass. Like, that's what's going to happen. But the person doesn't believe that. The person has been told time and time again that they're worthless, that this trait about them is not something that is good. And they're literally lying to themselves to try to make themselves feel better. And it comes across of, oh my God, they're so narcissistic. They're all about themselves. And people's reaction to that is to attack. When someone sees someone that is so up their own butt, they literally, they don't, they attack. They literally, like you're a wild animal. And when that happens, the problem, you're not solving the problem, you're solving the symptom, right? Because they're reacting to how the world is treating them. They're putting themselves in this false sense of security where they're like, okay, everything that everyone is saying about me is not true. That's not true. I actually think I'm better than you. I actually think I'm amazing. And them lying to someone leads to someone being like, well, you're not really amazing. Well, this is wrong about you. Oh, have you seen this? Oh my God, check this out. And that just creates a huge problem in them because all of this is being started for them by them having a low self-worth. All of this is being started by them literally hating themselves and lying to you about that. And people, I didn't realize this. I'm gonna be real. For a lot of these things I'm realizing, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so, like, how did I not realize this? It's so obvious. It's not obvious. But when you realize it, you're like, aha. The hard thing to do is you need to, what people say, stroke their ego. You need to fix what has been hurt. So the fact that they're they're coming off as narcissistic or overconfident, and you're like, well, this person doesn't need me to this person's good, they don't need me to gas them up in any way. That's not necessarily true. I think they need it more than anyone. I think the thing they're desperately searching for is for someone to say, I hate the word pick me, because I think they're searching for love. They're searching for, sadly, approval, because we have a society that has taught us that the only way that we can view ourselves in any way that's okay is if someone says that we're good. Is if someone finally says, oh my god, you did a good job, you're a good person. Like, that's like the thing we're desperately searching for, but too afraid to say it because it's uncool, right? But I don't know. I tend to just to give people their flowers. I know it's a lot of times it's hard, especially when you're in a bad place too. It leads to like it's like freaking oil and water, something that should not be mixing at any point. But I tend to just go for it because I know you're just like, oh my god, they're so annoying, they're bothering you. It's literally making you feel bad. If you're unable to have a sit down conversation and I know a lot of people are not able to, that's something that's really hard to do. It creates so much issues. I feel like the only thing you can do at that point is either leave, which sucks because they're hurting, or gas them up is what I usually try to do. Is I try to see, okay, so what is bothering you? What is the thing that is making you feel like this? What is the world making you feel like? What's happening? And if you're able to find that out, you can literally just be like, try to make them feel better about something that they don't feel good about. You don't always have to do that, but I know when I feel bad about myself, having someone validate that, I know it's embarrassing to say, it feels amazing. Like when you're like low in the dumps and you're feeling bad about XYZ and someone uplifts the same thing that you're feeling bad about, it's literally like drugs. It's amazing. You're just like, okay, that's what I needed. And obviously it's not something you should rely on, but people lying is what happens in saying that we don't need to. It's not something that is an issue. No one wants to acknowledge that's something that has a problem because they're going to get made fun of and mocked. It sucks. Because I wish we were at an okay place in society where you could say to someone, this made me insecure. I'm uncomfortable. I'm feeling actually really jealous. I'm feeling I don't like myself right now because of XYZ. And I feel like a lot of times people don't tell you that because there's not space. No one's giving them the space to be like, yeah, you're comfortable. You can talk to me. You know, when you see someone that's like clearly uncomfortable and you're trying to make it more comfortable for them to talk without pushing it, I feel like people need to be able to say like, no, no matter what, I'm not going to judge you for what you say to me. This is harder for strangers. But I feel like giving out the space, especially to people that we know and people we interact with, of like, I'm not going to judge you for whatever you say to me. I'm not going to think you're crazy for having emotions. I'm not going to even judge you always for lashing out, for not being able to control yourself completely when you feel these emotions. But I want you to talk to me, and I want you to try to express this to me, because it worries me. And making people feel safe, and making people feel like if they do come to you, you're not going to be on attack mode, I feel like is key to so much. Like, there's so many things of like, it's like kissing someone, right? Everyone has like the anxiety of like, oh my god, what if they reject me? What if they say I'm fucking creepy? What if I'm a bad kisser? Like, there's so much anxiety when that first kiss has not happened. At least for me. And having someone being like, I know this is crazy, but having someone going up to you and be like, you can kiss me, right? Like, obviously, that's not flowy, but that's going to take away the person's ability. Like, someone could be. Most people are not going to be uncomfortable at that point. If someone literally, like a dude's like, you can kiss me, right? You're going to feel like, you're like, ah! You're going to feel more comfortable kissing him because you're like, he's not going to be uncomfortable when I kiss him. He's not going to take this as an assault. He's not going to attack me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make him uncomfortable. Like, none of this is going to happen because he's already gave me the space to do that. And I feel like if people did that for so many different things, not that it's on you, but I feel like it would solve a lot of situations. And it's why I don't step out of meeting people new so often, because that's the number one thing that people don't do is they don't give you the space or you're so fearful of even trying because they're not going to tell you. Don't know, you know what I mean? You have to just go for it and hope that this person doesn't judge you for something that is very vulnerable that you're coming to talk to them about. I don't know. I just went on like 20 million goddamn tangents. And that's something else I wanted to talk about, which is people's ideas of friendship nowadays, which sounds horrible because, like, when someone's like, you're not my friend, you're like, oh my god, that's so rude, because it's rude. But when we're talking about actual friendships, most people's definitions are not what an actual friendship is. Like, it's usually an acquaintance or someone that you're friendly with, but they're not, like, actually your friend. It's not something that... It's not my book. I would consider someone a friend when you feel comfortable disclosing and talking to them. You know what I mean? You feel comfortable confiding in them. You trust them. I feel like a lot of people you're friendly with them or you like them, right? And you like hanging out with them, but you're like, would I actually consider this person a friend? Would I consider this person someone, like, a really good friend? I feel like I have so many people that I'm friendly with, and I have so many people that I would call them a friend, but I'm not close with. And so then it leaves me, I'm like, I hate making someone feel bad. And so I'm just like, I'm not trying to say that you're a horrible person or I don't want to be friends with you. What I'm saying is I'm just not comfortable yet in whatever stage of our relationship. And I don't know how to classify that other than we're just friendly. It sounds horrible because you can't really say that. You can't say you're not my friend, even though it's the truth of, like, oh, we're friendly and I know you and I like this person, but we're not actually friends, and that sucks. I wish we were friends, but we're not actually friends. We're friendly and I like this person and I would probably hang out with them, but we're not friends. And it sucks. This is a horrible thing for me to go on about. But I think people say it because they don't want... It's another thing that they say because they don't want to be rude. It's another thing that they're trying to avoid a conflict or trying to avoid upsetting someone or hurting someone. So they're just like, I'd rather just say this person is a friend and then not deal with... Sorry, I'm thirsty. And then not deal with all the negative consequences of them feeling like shit because I'll just call them a friend. Like, it's so much easier. And I feel like I need to start doing that. It's hard. It's hard because in my head I'm weird. I'm not weird, but it takes me a while for me to become comfortable with someone, and I've talked about that before. It just puts me in this weird situation where I'm just like, I like you as an individual and I would probably choose to hang out with you, but I'm not really comfortable around you because of me. And it just... So I don't know what to call you. I don't know what to call you. Be like, oh yeah, they're my friend, but I can't talk to them on the phone. So I guess I'm just gonna leave that. Because it bugged me, but then I'm just like, the more I think about it, I'm just like, this is not a hill you want to die on. or at all. Another thing that I was relating to that was, I don't know if you guys have been hearing about imposter syndrome. I'm not too researched in it at all. It's basically going to, I know like some of the symptoms are like self-doubt, anxiety, depression. The main thing is the fear of being exposed as a fraud. So the biggest example I have for this is I don't know how to group like people who are light skinned together. Like people who are I guess light skinned is the best term, experience a lot of imposter syndrome. And I don't want to say it's imposed on them or it's self imposed, but and it's no one's fault. But all that happens is I think when you're, like I said before, when you're a person of color, you're representing the whole community, sadly. And so when someone's speaking for the whole community and they're speaking their misinformation or they're speaking falsely or they're lying, I feel like people like to, I don't know, they like to remind them about their privilege. And when that happens, this imposter syndrome happens because you're literally this thing of like, well, am I not black now? I know, I'm looking at myself right now. Am I not black? Am I black? They're taking my black card away, and I feel like I'm not black right now. Like, it's kind of crazy and not something that I would. It's not something I would complain about because I don't. It's not something that is worth complaining about, but it is something that happens, and I feel like it's like the number one thing that happens, and it people lash out from it. People get really, really offended by it because they feel like you're basically calling them a fraud. They're not who they said they're. You literally make them, not necessarily on purpose, maybe sometimes on purpose, but they feel like they're not who they're supposed to be. They're constantly afraid that they're going to be exposed for being who they're not. And I feel like that's why I feel like a lot of colorism happens because people are so afraid of being, I don't know, they're so afraid of being called out for being imposter that they stop from building those connections. They stop from like, I've even seen it. I've like seen people literally get like anxious. Not because they're just like, oh my god, this person's gonna. It's literally because they're afraid this person is going to call them out for being an imposter. And obviously, I feel like the easiest thing, it doesn't solve everything, is to just acknowledge the privileges. To just acknowledge, like, okay, yeah, we do have a shared struggle, but there are some things that you go through that I don't have to deal with. And I know that's the thing that's setting you off. I feel like people don't want to admit that or don't want to acknowledge that, understandably, kind of understandably. And it just creates a divide instead of being like, oh, it's okay that you're uncomfortable around me. I think that's just, I've never been someone to judge someone. I'm not gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna call you a freaking horrible person just because you're scared something might happen to you. Like that, no. It's a hard thing when it transfers. I don't even know how to say this. There's certain only ways you can do it, right? There's only certain ways you can reverse it. You can't, it's, if I'm nervous going to see someone who's darker than me, it looks bad. It looks like I'm racist. It looks like I'm just going to say racist, colorist. It's such a weird way to say. It looks like I have a bias no matter what it is. Versus you reverse that situation and they're uncomfortable with my presence, I'm more comfortable with that. I know that's weird, but I understand it. I'm like, I know you're probably traumatized. I know you're probably afraid and you're anxious on what might happen because bad things have happened to you before. And I don't think that's something that I would never judge someone on that one. I feel like a lot of people do judge people, sadly. It's not something that I would try. It would make me uncomfortable only on the fact that you're making someone uncomfortable. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, I don't want to make you feel like this. I'm sorry. Should I go? I don't know what to do. But at the same time, I would never do that. As anxiety with being the person I have has always been a horrible situation. I literally put a sign outside my house explaining my autism and anxiety because I didn't want someone to be like, "Oh my God, they're racist." I really didn't want someone to be like, "Oh my God, she's racist. She doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't want to see me." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad." So I just put a sign out. I know that's kind of pathetic, but I just literally didn't want someone to feel upset because I've honestly felt like that before, and so I wouldn't want someone to feel the same thing that I have. Guess that's it. I'm like, there's so many things I could continue talking about, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, this one has not been that entertaining. I'm honestly, I'm upset because I wanted this to be something that people could listen to, but at the same time, I'm just like, this is not really entertaining. It's not really exactly how I want it to come across. But I'm just going to continue doing this and see what we can make of it. And hopefully by like the 5th or 10th podcast episode, I have like a rhythm down pat. Whatever. Also, another thing that might happen, if you have seen my partner in any way, Marcus, I am trying to get him on to be getting on the podcast at least monthly for like a monthly podcast episode. We were supposed to do the first one together, the Miles in My Shoes podcast. Oh my God, you. And I don't know. I thought it would be easier if we just started off monthly, and so I hope you guys will enjoy listening to us talk. It's going to be a different environment, and that's the one thing I wanted to have on here, which is like two people talking back and forth, try to banter. Like that would be the thing that I also want in here besides talking about serious topics. So maybe you guys could let me know. There's two things that I would either want to do, which is either have him on monthly, or I could stop the podcast halfway and have him in for like the rest of the podcast so we could just have a conversation that way. I don't know. I thought I would just ask you guys and see what you guys think. I appreciate everyone who listens. I didn't honestly expect a lot of people to listen, and I got a lot more than I thought, honestly. And I really appreciate every single person that even listened to like a second of this. It helps me. It helps me, and I can't even say. I really do appreciate it so much. And this is the one thing. Like I was supposed to try to make a TikTok this week. Again, things are happening. We finally got all the puppies homed, but there's so many things that are happening that is just not possible right now. Also, the same reason why this podcast is not visual is it's just not possible right now. It will be visual at some point, so I'm sorry. You'll see my whatever my face looks like. God. But this is so much easier. I don't know if anyone wants to do a podcast, but if you save up for just the equipment, like you literally can just film in whatever you're freaking wearing. You don't have to spend 3 hours getting ready so you can be on camera. It's so much easier, and I like it. I don't think I'll ever have guests on. I don't think that's something that's gonna happen. I wish I could. I wish I could go on other people's podcasts. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think the product would be that good. I think the only person I could probably talk on in a podcast format, with it being unscripted, would probably be my partner. And so that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna end this here because I'm just trailing on, and all the things that I want to talk about we don't have time to talk about. So I didn't even finish talking about the rest of my childhood. We literally got to hair. I was gonna tell you the story on it. Should I tell you? Should we extend this out? Um, it's so boring. Like, oh my god, we just pop this out somewhere. Oh, I can talk about the Super Bowl real quickly. I'm not gonna go into details because we stopped watching. I don't want to say names, but we stopped watching halfway. We didn't even make it to the halftime show, and I felt bad. And I was trying to find the halftime show online uh after the show ended, and I was so pissed off because I wanted to watch it. I was a little bit disappointed in the Super Bowl ads, honestly, this year. I liked the video things that the NFL did. I think it was the NFL. I was watching the pregame and I saw that one uh a lot more than the actual game. And they did this one with the coach where he was like his younger self was like introducing himself. It was like meeting his older self, and it was this whole thing. I literally started crying. I was like, "Oh my god, this is like, oh my god!" I was so like emotional, and then it goes and shows the actual guy in real life, and he was tearing up too, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, it's not just me; it's actually his life." But it was a fun experience while we watched it. I didn't support any team, but we were rooting for. I'm not sure. I think we were rooting for the Chiefs because that was Marcus's team. It was fun watching it. I really liked watching it. He had to explain a lot of what happened to me. What happened? He had to explain a lot what happened because I didn't really understand. But really enjoyed watching it. It's something that I would watch every Super Bowl. I don't think it's too long, or if you're not interested in that, it can be something that is a lot. I don't want to say boring because it's not boring, but when you're not interested in it, it feels like it is. But I feel like that's something, even if you're like, oh, I've never seen this before, you could still watch and be like, oh my god, yes, 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 yes. You know what I mean? You can really get into it really quickly. But I think I'm gonna end this here, mostly because I've been talking for too long and I think this is kind of boring. But I really enjoyed this. If you enjoyed listening to this, I really freaking appreciate you. Like, oh my god. I love it so much. It's crazy. I'm sorry. But we're just going to end this here. I'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow. I'll see you next week, and by then I should be continuing with all my posts as normal on other socials. I can't speak. You should almost see something from me every single day, whether it's a short or something. I just don't want to say that in case something happens and then someone's like, oh, but you did it. And I'm like, but I tried. I didn't lie. Not that something that's, I'm just so proud. Oh my god, guys, I did not lie. But I'm going to end this here. Thank you for listening. Bye.